Hello, I'm Paul Woodman and welcome to Love Cars. You join us at Angelsey Circuit, one of the most beautiful and picturesque racetracks in the whole world. And we're here for a very special endurance race, a 12-hour endurance race called the Race of Remembrance. And the Race of Remembrance is run by Mission Motorsport. It's a very special charity that helps servicemen and ex-servicemen get into the automotive world, whether it be motorsport or some sort of job or career within automotive. And we're really excited because we've never done anything more than a 20-minute race before. So a 12-hour endurance race is something that we're a little bit apprehensive, but very excited to be doing. And without further ado, I think it's time to introduce the team, the PaddlUp Lovecars Race of Remembrance Team 2021.
First up, already a Caterham superstar and a man that has hundreds of Angelsey sim laps under his belt, it's fast Freddy Chiddicks. From Mission Motorsport, a local legend and a proper speed merchant who knows Angelsey like the back of his hand, it's Danny Holland. Filming Ferraris, Porsches, McLarens and much more around Trackmont Angelsey, it's yours truly, Paul Woodman. And finally, a man that until last week didn't even know where Angelsey was. It's supercar owner and PaddlUp founder, Joe Priday. Qualifying was quite unusual. Each team of 50 or so cars had a 2.5 hour daytime qualifying slot where every driver had to do a minimum of 3 laps and a further 2 hours in the night time where again you had to do at least 3 laps each. Your fastest time is taken from the day qualifying only. In our case it was set by Fred with quite a modest 1:44.6, which is a slow lap time for Angelsey and Caterham, but this was due to some very inclement weather. It did mean, however, that we were starting 6th on the grid overall, 5th in class, and we were the 2nd fastest Caterham. Not too bad for a bunch of Academy drivers in a bog standard car.
After a really strange qualifying session, we're finally on the grid. It's all about to happen. The action's going to happen. It's a real eclectic mix of cars here because there's lots of different classes. We're in Class D, which is all about power to weight ratio. And we, in terms of qualifying, we finished 7th overall, but one person got a grid penalty, 5-place grid penalty, which puts it up to 6th. But to be honest with you, with a 12-hour endurance race, it really doesn't matter too much. But we'll take the 6th place. And in terms of Caterham in our class, I think we're fastest in our class. But it was a really mismatch in terms of qualifying because there was so much going on. The weather was never dry. It was a very greasy circuit. But we managed to put it somewhere up here, which we're going to find Fred, who's tucked away. Hopefully he's nice and secure and happy and relaxed in his car, which is just over here. Fred's having a little stretch. How you feeling, Fred?
Looking forward to it. First time racing more than 20 minutes, so it should be fun.
What's your tactics?
Drive fast, take chances, send it. Hopefully it's in a piece in an hour.
Well, it's very interesting because, as Fred just said, the longest stint we've ever done before is 20 minutes in a car. I think with this going on, amazing bagpipes and drumming, I think we'll leave it there and look forward to the start.
So much for it being a 12-hour marathon. In the opening seconds, we almost got completely wiped out by a Honda Civic who decided to come in a little bit too hot into turn 2 and span into us. But we managed to dodge any major damage and tucked into 5th place with just a broken rear wing. Fred was doing the first stint and felt very much at home and was really on the pace of everybody. Well, almost everybody, other than the Lotus Elise of Rob Boston Racing, that somehow was several seconds a lap faster than everybody else in the field. After a really solid stint of just over an hour, we were in a brilliant position and very much competing with everybody else in the field. Well, other than Rob Boston and his Lotus Flippin' Elise. So it was time to come into the pits and change over to yours truly and to also put our well-oiled pit stop to the test. Think Red Bull, Formula 1, the pinnacle of pit stops. That's what we were aiming for, just to give you some indication of how good and how slick this was going to be. You could just feel the pain. What should have been a standard 4-minute pit stop ended up being nearly 15 minutes. We had such a major problem filling up due to the position of the filler, and it was just excruciatingly embarrassing, with fuel pouring everywhere and what seemed like the whole of Angelsey watching us, including the very eagle-eyed scrutineers. So coming in at 5th place, by the time I finally got back on track, we were way, way, way down in 28th position.
Okay, so as you would have seen, pit stop did not go that well. However, we now have a cunning plan. We can actually refuel at the circuit fueling station. So we've all lined it up, so we know what way we're going out. So when Paul comes in, straight to fuel station, and we won't have the calamity again. Fingers crossed.
So while I was busy trying to claw back some places and getting to grips with driving a race car in the dark, meanwhile my esteemed colleagues were offering me huge amounts of support from the garage.
Alright, so currently in the PaddlUp garage here. All things sort of okay. Paul is in the car. He's doing well. He's used to lights like this, bit sunbed-ish, isn't it? So he's loving it. And here we got Fred. Fred, how did it go?
It was absolutely bonkers. First lap took a pretty big shunt up the inside of the second corner. There are a couple of other crazy moves from people, but pretty good stint. I think we came into the pits in fifth, and then just a massively slow pit stop. Real shame, but
yeah, Fred was. Fred, you did smash it, mate. Very, very proud. And then, I don't know if you can see the remnants of our fuel, so we don't actually know how much fuel is in Paul's car, but we'll see.
Caterhams are brilliant. They are the most fun cars pound to pound in the world, period. However, when it comes to fuel gauges, well, let's just say they're not 100% accurate 100% of the time. If we wanted to finish 3 more sessions this evening and not add an extra fuel stop, I needed to stay out at least 1 hour and 10 minutes. But with a pit stop debacle, meaning we had absolutely no idea how much went in the tank and how much we actually left on the pit lane floor, we had to take a gamble and stay out as long as we possibly could. And it paid off. We got a safety car. So after a solid session and then a slick pit stop in the Angelsey on-site petrol station, it was over to Joe for stint number 3.
Hour and 5, hour and 10. You're on. Go 3 down 4. Just leave on speed, Joe. Leave on speed. Leave on speed. Let me speak to this. I don't know how people do Le Mans. That was absolutely brutal. I can't believe the difference. Believe the difference as soon as it starts becoming dark, and you lose your perspective. The worst thing for me is losing the way you go out of your exit from a corner. It's not so bad getting the apex or going in and you're braking. It's losing the exit of the corner because I don't know the track well enough to push it that hard, but that was really tough. And the toughest thing is every time you think you're on for a good, clear, fast lap, you catch the back markers up so quick. Those C1s are like mobile chicanes, but that was one hell of an experience. But I'm definitely going to leave the night stuff to the fast guys now. I think I'm going to put my feet up and have a bit of a rest, do a tiff. No, I'm not. I'm going to go cheer them on from the pit wall.
So when I started my stint, I was in 28th position and managed to hand over to our man Priday in a much more respectable 17th place. So we were slowly clawing back some of the positions. But realistically, that first pit stop probably ruined our podium chance already. But, however, with Angelsey now engulfed in full darkness, anything could happen. And there was still a very long way to go.
I don't know how he's going to get on. I can't wait to see his reaction, because my reaction is that was brutal. It was so enjoyable. I really loved it until the sun went down. I couldn't see a thing. Well, you've got your lights, but the thing is, braking zones are okay, apex are okay, but judging your exit for me, because I don't know the circuit, was the hardest thing. But managed to do okay. But we got a lot to do. That first pit stop really messed us up, but we'll see what we can do. At least we got a solution for the fuel, which is a good thing. Anything can happen. There's a long way to go.
Our man did us proud, and now with our very unorthodox pit stop strategy sorted, and with all the drivers so far very much on the pace, it was time for Fred to have his second stint of the day.
So that's our first full night stint completed. I had no safety car either, which normally safety car comes out, you get 15 minutes bit of respite, but no, it was a hour and 10 minutes of brutality. Absolutely crazy at night. You know, things just don't see you. Lights in your mirrors, you can't gauge distances. People have gone off and taken out corner markers, so it's different the next time you go around. It's Yeah, it's but absolutely brilliant. Really enjoyed it. Right at the end, you're trying to gauge your fuel. So you're looking. We've got a mark on our fuel, but it's not that accurate. So you're worried about fuel. You're worried about this. You're worried about that. But overall, yeah, absolutely fantastic. Loved it.
Now, the only way we can hand over the baton to Danny and to have any chance of doing a one-stop strategy for the rest of the evening was to risk Fred and keep him out there as long as possible. The question was, could we pull it off, or would it end in disaster and run out of fuel and effectively ruin any chance of getting anywhere near the top 6?
He's made it! We've made it! We pulled it off! We gambled on a really long stint there with Fred to try and get some time back so we can only have one more change. And he's only gone and bleeding made it! Oh, team manager, whoa, hey!
Absolutely brilliant, Reece.
Well, how about that? How about that? Would you believe it? We managed to pull it off. Hopefully we can pull off this final stint as well and get to the end on that last tank. Wish us luck.
So with the Academy boys out of the way and a brilliantly calculated fuel strategy from our stand-in team manager Freddy Chiddicks and Caterham Supremo Dan Piper, it was over to our Angelsey veteran and Mission Motorsport racer Danny Sumo Holland. Meanwhile, Fred was a little bit oblivious to his fuel situation.
How are you feeling, Fred? That was some long stint. We took a gamble. You were on fumes when you came in.
I didn't want you to pull me in, but as you just saw, we filled it up and we had half a litre left in the tank. So, but that was brilliant fun. Quick, lots of traffic, but yeah, went quicker than I did in the daytime. So,
Night driving, what do you think of that? Something else, isn't it?
I love it. Just ignore the mirrors and send it.
Now, there's a little bit of a twist of fate here because we really pushed the boundaries there in terms of getting the most out of that stint. Now there's just been a safety car literally one lap later. Now, if it happened with us, we would have benefited considerably, but that's the way endurance races go. But now we got Danny out. Hopefully he can, we'll see. But safety car only does 40 miles an hour, so it's painful behind that. We're going to lose a lot of time. But that's endurance racing. Well done, Fred.
Cheers.
So with some solid stints from the Caterham Academy guys and with our little Welsh wizard finding great form, together with now nailing our pit stop strategy, we were slowly but surely making up lots of lost time from the first pit stop and climbing up the field. But day one had come to a close and we were all feeling quite upbeat given where we were only a few hours ago with that awful pit stop. It was time to catch up with Danny back in the garage.
The day's over. How was that? I'll let him get his breath back, but we're currently lying 4th overall, which I think is amazing considering the bad luck we had. This poor man, the best technician ever. 15 minutes to fill the car and the whole pit stop should be 4 minutes. So considering we went through that, we lost at least 5 laps and we're back to only being 6 laps behind. So we're running 4th, the 3rd fastest Caterham overall. Got it all to do tomorrow, but there's still a long way to go. We're halfway there. You were fast, you were brilliant, kind of fast.
What happened to microphone?
I don't know what happened to that. A bit of bad luck with the microphone as we had today, but tomorrow is another day. Well done, lads, brilliant. Brilliant, well done, Dan. Well done, Trev.
After a long night in the garage, making some tweaks and adjustments to the car, it was day 2. Another 6 hours to go, thankfully all in daylight. But with some overnight rain, the track was a little slippery in places. Danny started as he left off last night and was putting in some really solid times. He's been very racy with Taylor O'Flanagan of Team Q6 Motorsport, one of our closest competitors within the Caterhams, and we've all been enjoying cheering him on from the pit wall.
Right, Joe, I've just come off the track. That was absolutely unbelievable. First went out under the safety car. We were under safety car for about 3 laps or so. The track was still a little bit damp in places, so it was a bit slippy. But after that, I just got into the groove and I kept going round and round and round, pumping in really good lap times. I got into a good battle with another Caterham, but overall I think it was a really good. I've just been told now coming off the track that I was the fastest on track by quite a few seconds, so that's really good. But yeah, the other Caterham, it was good fun, a really good battle on track. It's just good getting in the way. It's on endurance racing, you've got to get a really good gap, otherwise the Caterhams will catch you again. So if you catch somebody and then dive bomb them into a corner and they block them, you break the toe. So apart from that, it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Oh God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come.
Let's go racing!
After the break and a really lovely service, I was back on track to complete my third and final session, and despite the tyres going off, I was super pleased with my pace and chuffed to bits that we turned around an almost impossible situation with the fuel stops into a position where we were now genuinely pushing for a podium.
And this has been one incredible learning experience for us, because none of us had done an endurance race before. We've all just done 20 minutes racing in our first year of racing. So to come and do a 12-hour endurance race is just something else. And it's been a real baptism of fire, because Fred's father, Trevor, he stood in as our stand-in team manager, and he's done a brilliant job working out the strategy in the pit stops. And we've been stretching our pit stops as long as we possibly could. And it's important to understand as well that we're driving a bog standard 270R, exactly as it comes out of the factory, whereas others have, well within the rules, I hasten to add, modified their cars a little bit with things like limited slip diffs and lighter flywheels. But we're very pleased to be driving a bog standard 270R, and we're still up there with the standard car, with the big boys that have had a few little tweaks and modifications.
We changed tyres and tried 8-inch rears, which are normally 6-inch, which actually didn't help lap times at all. But we carried on pushing, and we couldn't really have been any closer to the lead had we not had that dreaded pit stop. The lap times from all four drivers were on the pace, with Fred and Danny just pipping myself and Joe. But the reality was, we were competing against many teams that had done this event before, had months and months of practice and preparation, with full team support, with comms links to the drivers, pit crews and big snazzy RVs. We had virtually zero preparation. We made the decision to enter only 2 weeks before, and Caterham pulled out all of the stops to get the car ready. Yet, despite these obstacles, we had the most amazing time of our lives, and we still managed to finish the race in 4th place overall. I really couldn't be any prouder of the whole team and the position we managed to get ourselves back into. And talking of modifications, congratulations to Rob Boston Racing. This car was in a class all of its own. The only person that managed to get within 3 seconds of their lap time was Lee Bristow of Solo 64, who together with Giuseppe Fellet and Will Rossetti went on to take an incredibly well-deserved 2nd place and become the first Caterham over the line. Brilliant drives too from Steve McCulley, Don Henshaw and Andy Perry of Rocket Racing, who took 3rd place overall and their 2nd Caterham over the line. Drive of our team for me was Joe, who managed to ditch his erratic Academy ways and become Mr. Consistent and Mr. Fast. But I couldn't help thinking of what could have happened if we didn't mess up that first pit stop. Still, a solid 4th place overall for Team PaddlUp, and with incredible memories that will last a lifetime. Massive thanks to PaddlUp, Mission Motorsport and also to Caterham for making this happen. Special thanks to Dan Piper, Trevor Chiddicks, Adam Betheridge and Joe Marsh for the behind the scenes support. One thing for certain is, we will definitely be back next year.